Welcome back, welcome in, welcome all to attempt number 3 of Like That episode 4 with your host as normal, Nico, Nick, Brooklyn. Guys, how are we?
I can go. I'm great. Take a look at that spreadsheet in a minute. No, I'm doing good so far. Got some good news here today, but overall, looking at just the last episode, I'm feeling really good about everything that just happened in the last 7 days. So,
Anything outside of the realm of football? Anything exciting? Just normal
you
life?
want me to share it?
I was going to talk about how I almost lost my sister's cat, but
Oh,
Very
that's
related.
terrible. It's so
Yeah,
It was
I
scary.
got accepted into business school today. So
hell yeah.
that'd be cool for the next 2
Applause
years.
around.
But other than that, hey. All right, someone take that button away from him. Other than that, yeah, I'm feeling good. Again, feeling pretty good after everything we talked about last episode, especially my picks. But we'll go over that in a minute. Nick, and then Nico.
I mean,
Nico's got the
nothing
big
new.
story.
Oh yeah, Nico's got the big story. Nothing really new for me. The finger's feeling better. I can actually do this
the
now.
rings off.
Whoa!
The ring's off. Yeah, finger's
Championship
good.
ring.
It still kind of hurts at the top, but other than that, though, really nothing new. Some good football this past weekend.
Hell yeah.
Nico, do you want to share?
How about that cat?
Yeah, dude, that was like the scariest part of my week outside of like watching the Giants game. But the cat, I get home and it's a zoo in this house and there's one cat not showing up and I'm freaking out, thinking like where I'm looking around the house. My sister, funny enough, has an air tag on the cat, so I get the air tag, says it's in the house. I'm pinging it, I can't hear it, so I'm really worried. Like, oh my god, like it's kind of raining out. So then I have a couple dogs. I take the dogs outside and I keep pressing the button and I hear the ring sound from outside and it's pretty open. I'm just looking around like, oh shit. So I bring the dogs back inside and
Outdoor cat?
what was that?
Outdoor cat?
No, not an outdoor cat. Like these cats don't go outside.
Okay.
So
Oh,
I'm like pinging this, like it's like trying to find like a buried treasure, find the cat like just like chilling like right at the beginning of the woods. Then brought the cat back inside, felt like a hero, but my heart rate went over 160 on a day I didn't do anything, so it speaks for itself.
So the cat just got a little curious one day.
Got a little curious in the rain, I guess, and realized
You know what happens to curious cats?
she didn't lose one. She still got all 9, so like I'm not worried.
Curiosity is going to kill the cat. So
That's not like the time we thought we lost a cat when I came to yours that one time, but it was just in the corner.
Yeah, no, that's not the social cat. Like that cat just tries to hide, but like that one doesn't have an air tag, so that cat got out. God knows.
Yeah.
Cats. We got a cats poop fest coming up later this Sunday, but
Isn't the Panthers?
mm-hmm.
Bold of you to say, as you took them. But if we're gonna talk, like, we're gonna jump into some of the stuff from last week. Picks of the week going that week 7. Brooklyn went.
We had a cats poop fest this past week. So I meant to say, not this week. I was looking at the wrong sheet.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah.
But have a week, Brooklyn. Taking the cake. 10 correct picks last week. Only had 4 incorrect. Going into the 4:00 games, only thing wrong was the Raiders there. So that's huge. That's huge. Nick and I both
I feel
got
great about
8.
that primarily because like some of those picks were like a lot, or were some that were like kind of shaky going against like probably public opinion. Like Cincinnati plus 5.5 seemed pretty risky with like literally them just implementing Joe Flacco, and going against the Steelers team that's looked decent. But no one predicted that game to look the way it did. That was ridiculous.
They're calling it the Icy Hot Bowl.
Jags Rams, that was both of those. Last episode I rode with Steelers and then Jags, but I didn't feel confident in the Jags consistency, and as you saw, like Lawrence couldn't get anything going. That team to me is just a complete fraud. And looking at like the Rams, I know they didn't have Puka, but God, Devontae Adams burned me in fantasy again. I think it was 3 touchdowns he had.
Yeah, on like sub 30 yards.
In under 40 yards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever.
He had a moss.
But, hey, it covered.
Yeah. Brooklyn's not bullshitting. Right after the pod, he confirmed with both of us. He didn't make these switches after the fact, but yeah, even though in the pod it said Jags, said Steelers, switches on both Nick and I, and they both end up being right. With the primetime luck, like what I've kind of assumed is the three of us all have the same pick in prime time. That it's almost worrisome. That like I'm gonna look into it
Yeah.
for next week, but I think that our most incorrect pick has been a prime time where all three of us agreed. But
Yep.
Cincinnati plus 5.5, a crazy shootout where for I said 2 episodes ago, why don't they just throw to Jamar Chase every time? And holy shit, 23 receptions. They're listening. We have NFL viewership coming from this podcast. Zach
Yeah, I
Taylor
know.
Zach Taylor weekly is just itching for this to drop, to hear what we're gonna say.
After people watched the last episode, Prime memberships went up because they wanted to see Jamar Chase get the ball. So we did them a favor, actually.
Amazon's got to
Now
sponsor
that
us.
comes in a close third for most targets in a game, compared to Brandon Marshall in 2009, who had 28 targets.
Yeah.
Insane.
Jamar Chase comes right behind Chris Chambers in 2005 with 26, and now Jamar comes in third with 23, tied for Garrett Wilson last year, who had 23. Previously, then Antonio Brown for the Steelers, or sorry, it was at the Raiders. But yeah, that's insane.
Jags game and the London game. If for how often they play there, I think that was their 12th game in London. Like they have, if there are people rooting for football in London, you're most likely a Jacksonville fan. So
Yeah.
it's like their second home.
That's a good point.
I went into it in the notes last week too. That was their 12th game all time in London.
Yeah, so like they probably got a lot of fans out there, and they fucking sucked.
Yep. It was like really bad. And honestly too, if you're a fan overseas and you're like wanting to go watch NFL football, just don't go to a Jags game. And it really sucks that that's the team that they push overseas every single time.
Roger Goodell's like got the
Every
Hey,
clipboard.
isn't that where Travis Hunter got his first touchdown ever?
Yep.
Though?
100-yard
So,
game.
hey, there's
He did have his
some history.
breakout game. Yeah, he had his breakout.
No points at halftime for Travis Hunter. So like I don't know. It was a good game, yes, but maybe a lot of garbage time there. And then I think the other one that I really want to highlight from last week was that Giants game. Oh my god. Quick fantasy note too. Talk about Travis Hunter's. We had a goose egg at halftime and then finished with somewhere around 20. Bo Nix had less than 4 fantasy points going into the fourth quarter, and he finishes the QB1 with 43.
That's insane.
That's ridiculous.
That's
Uh,
actually insane.
And a sneaky little Giants still end up covering. Applause to Nick there. But that was a choke and a half by a Giants team.
Yeah, that was. We were watching the game like in Discord together, and I was just watching this down spiral in the fourth quarter because I originally bet Giants spread earlier in the day, so I wasn't really necessarily worried about that, but I also live bet their money line.
Because why not?
Well, they went up 7-0. They looked good, and then after the Denver first drive, I was like, "Fuck it!" So I did it, and it looked good.
And you got to. What were the
after-
odds when you took it?
Plus 290.
When
So,
it was a tie game or they were winning?
They were winning 7-0. It was still plus 290. And then obviously going into the fourth quarter with 5 minutes left, that was pretty good. Jackson Dart interception. I knew it was over. One of the worst things that you could do as a quarterback in that situation, like at that point, you just take the sack. Like you lose yardage, but at least then you have to make them burn a timeout. The clock is running. Like it's just you don't force something there. Ultimately, though, he does get the rushing touchdown, which I was like, okay. But then Denver, they just go down the field within 20 seconds, field goal range, hit the game winner. So definitely a heartbreak for sure. Was glad that I took their spread. I was happy about that pick, but I mean, them winning that game would have been really cool.
Only game after Brooklyn's adjusted picks, only games that all three of us were incorrect on was taking the Falcons against the Niners. Christian McCaffrey finally ran the ball successfully, which was kind of a surprise against this defense. And Falcons didn't show up after a big win against the Bills. Lions defended the home turf. That was one where I was against both of you guys there. But outside of that, every other game, the majority of us were taking it. We had the Carolina spread against the Jets. We had Philly against the Vikings, and we had the Bears against the Saints. And, sorry, one more, the Seahawks against the Texans, where all of us picked the correct answer. So a pretty good week for, even though Brooklyn did take the cake there. Nick and I both finished with 8, not too far behind. Season lead, Nick has 23 correct picks. Brooklyn and I sit at 22, and that's out of 39 since we started recording the podcast.
Sitting on by a thread here.
Yeah, this is gonna be a big week to see if we're gonna see.
I'm waiting for the one bad week. It's coming.
Rest of this episode, we're gonna jump into week 8, and then at the very end, we're gonna NBA season tipped off this week. When this comes out, you probably won't be able to place the lay, but we did make our little like season long lay for the NBA season, and I think I don't know about next week specifically, but I think there is gonna be some NBA talk happening on this channel at some point. And before we jump into week 8, actually, is there something you want to say first?
No.
Okay. I have to make a couple apologies. First one being that being the recording this podcast on my computer, I muted my microphone as I was fighting my sinuses through last week's episode, and little did I know that I muted maybe my mic in person, but not through my recording software. So when I thought I was just sneezing blissfully in peace, everybody got to hear it. So I apologize there, and I think I got to apologize to Giants fans. I have, like, 3 weeks in, just shit on Jackson Dart, shit on Cam Scatterbo, shit on the Giants, and they have turned around and just proved everything wrong.
Yeah.
So
they've the Dart Masterclass video is definitely up there.
Not my best look. Not my best look. I've said some good things on this podcast, and the things that we've put on social media that I've said have not translated well.
Dino Smith.
But
Dino Smith was a bad one, dude. That was like, I think one of his worst weeks of the season.
Not only that, but
probably gonna be CJ Stroud's highest. I was good. Probably his highest scoring fantasy game this year.
I don't think I could be more wrong on something that I pick. With that too, also one thing that we got to highlight from last week, all 3 of our picks of the week, first time through 3 episodes, we go 3 for 3. That's huge. Listen to us. Yep. Well, you are.
Yeah.
But with that said, though, let's jump into week 8. Week 8, starting off Thursday Night Football. We have the Vikings on the road against the Chargers. Chargers -3. Joe Alt could be back for the Chargers. That might be big. We're seeing no Haskins this week for the Chargers, so more Vidal there. Carson Wentz kind of has a little bit of a lingering shoulder issue, it looks. But
he does, but I know he's already confirmed to be the starter this weekend. McCarthy got ruled out again, I'm pretty sure.
Looking at this game, all 3 of us, which might have just cursed us there, all of us picking the same team. A primetime game, but they're underdogs. Underdog stat from last week, if you didn't listen. Underdogs have been hitting at a pretty good rate during primetime this year. And I mean, what is kind of the thought process that we had for the Vikings here? Because for me, it was something of, you saw a really good fight, against the Eagles, and you saw a Chargers team that's kind of the opposite against the Colts. Like, they were constantly trailing from behind. Granted, the Colts, one of the best teams all around so far to start the year. But the injury woes for the Chargers have kind of derailed a little bit of their season. But was it a tough choice? Because this one was not an easy pick for me.
No, not for me either. I was kind of feeling lucky this week, so I put some money down on the Vikings to possibly steal this for money line, just because, again, value, kind of like I took the Colts last week. The main reason for that is because, like, you're looking at the Chargers who got Khalil Mack. That didn't do much of anything on the defensive side. JT really still just ran straight down their throat. 3 touchdowns in that game, by the way. Daniel Jones. Oh, sorry, I'm talking about the Colts. But still kind of exposing the fact that there's a lot of holes in that Chargers defense right now. Khalil Mack didn't exactly plug anything up. Joe Alt coming back, sure, that's going to be helpful for Justin Herbert, but that offensive line is still not great. We look at the Vikings defense, who has been pretty decent overall for majority of the season. The Vikings looked solid enough with Carson Wentz throwing the ball to move the ball around against the Eagles, and it looks like a game right now where the Chargers still just don't have it together. In a game that now Vikings still got Jettas. Aaron Jones, I think, is playing this week, but even Jordan Mason can still be in line for a big week. And, I think the Chargers are one of like the bottom 5 rushing defenses in the last 3 weeks. So a lot of holes still on defense right now. If the Vikings can at least play to their strengths, I think they can at least cover that spread. But then I also think that they have potential to possibly steal this one away as well, because the Chargers are not fine. They're just not in sync right now. Like their offense kind of clicking, but at the same time, line can't hold up. Defensively, they've just been real bad.
No, I agree. I like Minnesota a little bit more than the Chargers in this game. The Vikings defensive, that linebacking room, Andrew Van Ginkel, I know he was also limited. So, I mean, that's definitely something to keep an eye on. Both of these offensive lines are pretty beat up, but I truly think, I mean, if you did watch the Vikings Eagles game this past weekend, Wentz, aside from those 2 interceptions, he still did look pretty good. I mean, they did put up a fight against a really good Eagles secondary and that D line with Jalen Carter. I don't think the Chargers' defense is any better. I definitely think, and I know Aaron Jones coming back adds a little more versatility, especially in that passing game. With a guy like Wentz, who's a little bit older, can't really move it a little bit more. So, I mean, you're going to see a lot of Aaron Jones checkdowns probably, if that's the case, if he does play. But yeah, I like Minnesota a little bit more here. I think it's a much needed win for them. But yeah, I like the underdog here. Going with the underdog.
One thing that we're going to start doing going forward is when we're talking about each game, I'm going to highlight a couple players for fantasy value that we kind of like, is, especially for start sit options. Because granted, we're talking about a week where Cardinals, Lions, Jaguars, Raiders, Rams, Seahawks, they're all on buys. So somebody that I kind of like for the Chargers here. I mean, granted, right now Justin Herbert's supporting like I think 3 starting receivers are all top 30 right now. But Oronde Gadsden kind of jumped out onto the scene, late round tight end pick for the Chargers this year. Last week, 7 receptions, 164 yards and a touchdown. Guy's a monster, kind of like a hybrid, like tight end wide receiver, almost like an Evan Ingram. But script goes the way it is. The run game for the Chargers has not really been there. We saw last week when they were trailing from behind that they really can sling the rock, and he's just a mismatch against linebackers. So I kind of, with a lot of buys, I think he's a plug and play tight end this week.
Yeah, well, to contrary, you got Chargers, I got Vikings here. I went with Jordan Mason. This is honestly going to ultimately come down to Aaron Jones' usage. I didn't see it. Well, I think it's pretty recent actually that they activated him off of IR, right? But looking at the Chargers, like I said, they have not been able to play much of any defense. I think they've given up per rush 5.8 yards in the last 3 weeks. They've also given up 7 rushing touchdowns to running backs. So, of course, to running backs in the last 3 weeks. Looking at Jordan Mason to possibly, just keep on pounding on that defensive line, and also that defense that can't stop the run. And also, if they get in the red zone within 10, if you're not going to trust Carson Wentz to try to lay it in there, might as well hand it off.
Anything you like there, Nick?
I was also going to say I didn't include a player, but if I did have to put one in, I would also say Jordan Mason. He's hasn't really been able to produce on the ground the last 2 weeks. This is the perfect opportunity for him to do that, especially with all the attention now going to be taken off of him that Aaron Jones is here. The first few weeks when Aaron Jones did play, Mason looked really good. He actually led the team in rushing yards over Jones. Jones was kind of utilized more as a receiving back. I mean, that was with J.J. McCarthy under center, so it could be a little different. But, I mean, I still really like Jordan Mason in this game. I think he's a good flex option if you have him. I like Aaron Jones, but coming off of IR, especially with the hamstring injury, I think it's a risky start. I would rely a little bit more on Mason.
Yeah, I agree there. I don't like starting running backs first week off IR. So that's some scary business, unless I'm desperate. But I don't. Nobody's desperate for Aaron Jones.
About all-time stats, San Diego Chargers, formerly from when they moved in 2017 to Los Angeles, lost 3 straight games to the Vikings until I believe 2023. It was the last time they actually beat Minnesota. So I believe the all-time record, I forget. Nico, do you remember what I put it at?
8-7, favoring Minnesota.
Yeah, so this would be a nice game to see. Just can they even the score about the same time?
It's gonna be a good game.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good Thursday night game.
Yeah, definitely.
Jumping into the 1:00s. This one I think is funny. Buffalo traveling to Carolina. Talking a lot about them Cats so far, but Bills at Panthers. Panthers plus 7.5. No Bryce Young, it looks like this week. I think it's going to be Andy Dalton under center. Bills so far to start, they're in their last 4 weeks, 0-4 against the spread. And Carolina's been, on a 3-game win streak. So, it looks interesting. You talk about all that 3-game win streak, Bills struggling. Bills are still projected, a game line of over a touchdown. And even though they've been a little banged up, I am the only one riding with Buffalo. And yeah, that defense hasn't been great, but this is one that you look at it kind of like a get right game for Buffalo. Yes, the defense has been quite putrid against the run and such, but if we're gonna look back on this on hindsight, and you're gonna tell me that just Andy Dalton versus Josh Allen, I don't think that's gonna be a close game. But why are we rocking? What's his nickname? Andy Dalton's got like some crazy one. Not like. I gotta look this up now.
No idea.
Not the Red Rocket. I don't think.
Red
Rocket? It better not be the Red Rocket.
I fucking hope not.
It's the Red Rifle. It's the Red Rifle.
Hey, coming out of the field for the Panthers this week is the Red Rocket. The Red Rocket emerges from the Panthers.
Wow.
It's Red Rocket, Red Rifle. I hear the same thing.
Okay, well then look it up. Tell me what comes up.
Andy Dalton, Red Rocket.
Let's talk about the Bills real quick. I'm gonna go first just because as much of a Bills fan, or as much as being a Bills fan, and also I'm just a sports fan in general. I'm kind of realistic, so I can remember girlfriend was like, "Did you shit on the Bills last week?" And I'm like, "Yep." Come on, man. I'm sorry. You can't ignore the facts that are right in front of us. Yeah, the Bills' defense has not been remotely okay against the run. I believe they said they were the bottom 3 from 156 or something rushing yards that they've allowed per game. Right now, Panthers got something comparable to what Detroit's got going on with both Chuba and Dowdle both being able to handle the ball very well on the ground. And I think that's just going to be something that Buffalo is either going to be able to not stop, but suppress a bit, or it's just going to be, again, like the Falcons game is going to make or break them. Do I trust the Red Rocket?
Are you riding the Red Rocket? You're riding the Red Rocket.
We're not riding the Red Rocket. We're going with Chuba. And Dowdo, but no Red Rocket riding there.
Trust the Chubb, not the Rocket.
Yeah, trust the Chubb, not the Rocket. I'm looking at that line, and I think it's just a little too much favoring in Buffalo compared to what they just were unable to do against the Falcons. I think if the Panthers can get that run game going just like they have against other teams so far, it could still be a bad day for the Bills. I hope the Bills win. Kind of proved me wrong there, but by over a touchdown, you saw what Atlanta did to him. Penix played a little bit better than he is. Red Rocket is he's a vet. So we'll see what happens. But I think that line spread's a little too high compared to what Buffalo can actually stop on defense right now.
I agree with that. And I mean, the bye week obviously helped them in that regard. I mean, they've had a week to kind of clean up. They've had a week to look at film, kind of look at these last few games and kind of notice what they've needed to work on. So definitely coming into this game, they probably know that the Panthers are going to rely heavily on their run game. I mean, realistically, if one's not going to be able to get the run going, just give it to the other guy. But, I like Carolina only just because, not even against the Falcons, especially in that Patriots game too, Buffalo being favored by 8.5 at home. Even in the passing game, I know Drake May looked really good, but especially in the rushing game, I mean, aside from the early on turnovers and the fumbles by Stevenson, he still produced a really good game. And Antonio Gibson before the injury. But, I still realistically think this game could be close-ish. I mean, 7.5. If it's 7, it's still covering. If you look at it that way.
I mean, yeah.
But I'm going with the stats here. I mean, obviously Buffalo could just say shut the fuck up and just make me look stupid right now and just absolutely obliterate them.
What kind of Bills fan am I going against my own team But it is spread, so Bills could still win. But if it's close,
But
monitor the injury report too for Milano.
Yeah, Matt Milano. If Matt Milano's not playing, that's also a huge hit to that defense that's already struggling. But I mean, Panthers at home, 7.5. It was a rough outing against the Jets, but they did get the job done. And I think if it was Bryce Young, and I'm not saying Andy Dalton's better, but I'm just saying this is kind of the same thing with Flacco. It's just like when you have someone that can read defensive coverages and he has a running back room that's strong, especially with 2 RB1s back there, you never know. But you could also make some boneheaded mistakes.
He's seen some things,
I'm not necessarily saying he's better than Bryce Young, but I'm just saying if it's Bryce Young going up against that Bills defense, it's a little different.
Dalton Kincaid comes back this week. That's my player to watch out of this game. I originally, as of literally 2 seconds ago, I was leaning towards James Cook, but Kincaid's been the focal point of that passing offense, and from the game script, the Panthers, they don't have a bad rush defense. They're just outside of the top 10, so that's kind of my guy to watch from this game. But you guys both have the same.
I'll let you take it, Nick.
I took Rico. I mean, it's a really toss up between these 2 running backs, but I mean, Rico has been the clear RB1 in this Carolina offense. Again, we've talked about this Buffalo defense, but he's also utilized in the passing game a lot. He's also shown that he can be shown in the passing game. So I like Rico this week, and I know
it was a little narrow for touches, but I do believe he did get more than Juba last week. I think maybe 3 or 4. Still, I don't know, showing something right now. They're riding the high for Dowdle. I want to move on from the Red Rocket though, so let's go to the next game.
No, but yeah, the Red Rocket is flying away into the sky. But translating, moving over. We've got the Cleveland Browns heading to New England, facing the Red Hot Patriots. Line -7 in favor of New England. This is also the lowest over/under of the week at 40.5. Back-to-back weeks, it's in the Browns game. No surprise there when you got Dylan Gabriel at the helm.
But you can't say that though, because they crushed the over last week, and it was at 36.
Last week.
But
they
scored
31 points.
That wasn't necessarily. I wouldn't award Dylan Gabriel with that. I mean, the run, Judkins they were able to establish the run really well there, but also Tua had some really bad interceptions that put the Browns already in the red zone. So it was a pretty easy game. Just more the Dolphins just kind of handed it to him. Dylan Gabriel didn't have to do too much there. But this is a little, again, another tricky matchup when you think about it with that -7 spread. Obviously, the Browns have the number 1 ranked rush defense, but the Pats have the number 3. And again, talking about how I think the whole Browns offense is based around that running back room, it could be ugly there. We saw last week the Patriots not really rely too much on the run against the Titans. So looking at this was a unanimous Patriots across the board. If there's a game script where the Browns win, how is it? Are they somehow going to exploit the D-line of the Patriots? Even though, again, we talked about how they've been top 3. Is there defensive touchdowns?
It's got to be defensively. They just got to they got to limit May, and then they've been great against the run all year. That's really it. If they get lucky, it's going to be a minor scrape by maybe a field goal. But then the under would have to hit, because I just don't see how they really halt the Patriots like that.
It's the best defense they played all year.
I was going to say time of possession. If Cleveland's able to hold on to the ball longer than New England and keep a score, then I just if somehow Cleveland is able to keep the ball out of Drake May's hands for as long as possible in this game, then I think they have a good chance. If they're able to keep the offense off the field, I think so. But I don't see that happening in this realm. I mean,
I think for me, this is going to be kind of another when you look at the Patriots so far this year, the loss against the Steelers where they had 5 turnovers, and we talk about the Steelers secondary has been quite poor. The D-line's been kind of carrying them that way. But this is probably the toughest battle Drake May's had all year. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how he goes against this tough Browns defense, because next week he's got the Falcons, Bucks, and then he's got Jets and Bengals to follow that up. But I think this is probably the most legit game the Patriots will have played outside of the that Bills game there. But again, we talked about how bad that Bills defense has been, so it's gonna be interesting. But all of us ride New England here on that win streak, and that brings me to the next match. Or actually, before we get to that, picks of the week for this game, or players to watch. Excuse me. Players to watch, both Brooklyn and I like Harold Fanning. No Njoku for the Browns this week. And if there's anybody that's been getting targets, it's been Fanning. So I don't expect too much there, but you need a nice 11 out of your tight end spot. He might be able to do that for you. Whereas I said Brooklyn twice there. Nick, you believe in Drake May against this defense? He's your start?
I do. Yeah. I mean, I really don't see, if they're not able to establish the run game very early against this D line, I do see May resorting to the passing game, and it's worked the last 2 weeks, and they've been able to capitalize on it. Fantasy purposes, PPR wise, good running quarterback. If he's gonna have no time in the pocket, you're gonna see him run a lot.
Projected 17 this week. What do you think? What do you think that looks like?
It's low. I think it mostly comes from passing yards. I don't think it really comes from rushing yards.
Well, so what are you expecting? Do you think he's going to hit like 23, 25? Like, what do you think he's going to be like QB3 on the week? Like,
I think he'll be like somewhere between QB 10 and 20. I don't think he's going to be bad, but I think against this tough defense. What?
10 and 20 guy. QB 20 on the week is like 13 points.
No. Okay, fine. I think it'll be like between QB 10 and 13.
All right. That's better. Mind you, he was QB 10 last week at 23 points.
I wouldn't bench him because he's playing the Browns, but I definitely think like it's going to be one of his lowest scoring weeks, because I don't think he's going to, if he does run, I don't think he's going to be rushing out of the pocket for a lot of yards. I do think he's going to resort to passing yards this game, trying to get in just quick snaps from the center, just not a lot of play action, because you don't want to give this D line a lot of time, especially Myles Garrett, a lot of time to get to you.
So now it's funny.
The class in question.
The Aster class is in question because we're talking back. Seems like we had this before. If we go to the week 6 stats. Oh, what's that? It's the Giants or Philly at Giants on week 6. Now it's inverted. We got Giants traveling to Philly. Line is the exact same as it was 2 weeks ago, with -7 in favor of Philly.
I can't wait to see that crowd. Defending champs against the Giants that just whooped them. Oh my God, that atmosphere is gonna be awesome. But let's go. There's a lot of injuries here, so.
Yeah, I mean, Azeez Ojulari. You got Cam Jurgens been out for a little bit. Abdul Carter's questionable. Darius Slayton questionable. AJ Brown didn't practice. Jalen Carter should be playing this week for the Eagles. He didn't play in week 6, so I think that's going to be the big turning point there. Obviously the Giants just come off a very, very embarrassing loss against the Broncos, but again, covered the spread. Now last week when we talked about this, we saw 3 of us all picking the Eagles, and I'm not saying I picked the Giants out of sympathy, but I've shit on them for so long since the start of this pod. We've been doing this for ages. And I can't like, after seeing what the Giants did against that Broncos defense last week, I can't stop, like, I can't even get the words out. That's how puzzled they have me. But I'm not gonna bet against them. Funny, am I touching this game with actual money? No, but when I have to make a pick, I took the Giants. Their D-line, even with Abdul Carter possibly missing this game, has still been great. Eagles 5th highest sack percentage allowed. So we saw that D-line already got to Hurts a lot in that previous matchup. But yeah, the Eagles, we saw them air the ball out a little bit more against Minnesota. But when you talk about these two teams, like the Eagles, we could just keep going on about the same problems that they've had all year. But what's the redeeming factor here for you guys? Both riding Philly to win by a touchdown.
I feel like Nick's going to say exactly what I think he's going to say. Oh, no.
What? Saquon?
It's a revenge game.
I wouldn't necessarily say it's a revenge game. I'm just saying I think he's just going to be a little utilized.
Where did Saquon play before this?
I think he played
sorry,
in
go
New
ahead, Brendan.
York for the Giants.
Might have been mentioned on a pod. I don't know. I always forget about that.
No, I kind of want to go off the momentum that Philly's carrying from last week. Hurts had a great game, 326 yards and 19 completions, 3 touchdowns as well. No interceptions, so that's always great. But at the same time, they probably watched a lot of film from everything that the Giants did to let up that entire comeback against the Broncos, and obviously they are gonna come back into this game with some fire. No way did they expect to be disrespected like that by the Giants beforehand. Film does all the work there. They're going to plug the leaks, and I don't think Dart nor Scatabo is going to have nearly as efficient of a week as they did the last time. So
Watch out saying those names.
Huh?
Every time I've said those names, it has not worked out well.
Well, I'm starting Scatabo, so I hope he does well. But I think the Eagles, it's kind of learn from your mistakes type of thing, and they get to play this team twice. I don't think that they get beat the same way.
Anything, Nick?
No, I agree. I'm kind of going with the same thing here. I like Philly a lot more than I did the Giants. If this was 2 weeks ago, obviously, I mean, I also picked Philly, but I did like the Giants going into it a little bit at home. I wanted to change it last minute, but I did not. I stuck to my pick. But this week, however, Philly at home, same matchup. AJ Brown, I mean, it doesn't necessarily put into a factor if he gets ruled out because, I mean, we saw it through the first month of the season. He wasn't utilized at all, and Philly was still able to win. I do think Saquon Barkley hopefully starts to get a little more volume in this offense. He's my player to watch for the week. I think he's a start this week. I think he's going to get utilized in this offense a little bit more. He wasn't the first matchup, so I think it gives him a little bit of advantage. Then again, you never know. But I like Philly -7 here.
I look at this game a little bit more on the going off the defense of the Vikings that the Eagles just played. Devonta Smith got a lot of action there. Last time the Eagles played the Giants, Goddard burnt them. And yeah, the Eagles didn't walk out of the game with a win, but at the same time, like you're looking at Hurts now really starting to utilize everything he's got in front of him. Hopefully, Barkley does see a little bit more volume this time. Numbers, efficiency wise on the ground, hopefully that picks up. But Hurts showed a lot in using a lot of the weapons that he has to his disposal. I think as long as he keeps doing that, it's going to be hard for the Giants to figure out who to stop.
Yeah, I also like a tight end this week, or in this matchup. I originally was thinking Goddard, but Theo Johnson's kind of been the go-to guy, I think, for Dart since he's taken over. We're seeing right around 5 targets a game. Touchdown last week against the Broncos, 7 targets, only brought in 3 of them. But again, on a week with a lot of buys, when they're in the red zone, that's Dart's first look, it feels. And this receiving core, especially if Slayton's out, it's going to be a little ugly. And then, Nick, I see a bounce back week for Saquon on your list.
Yep, I do. As I mentioned already before, I think this is the game and the week that he can have his bounce back game, especially after a poor first matchup. They're at home. He's healthier. And again, if AJ Brown's not playing, his volume is going to go up, especially a lot more.
There we go. I can't wait till we actually make like a graphic or a sound for our poop matchup of the week.
Oh boy. This is good.
Tyrod Taylor and the New York Jets fly into town to face Cincinnati. Joe Flacco. Cincinnati minus.
Such an ugly sentence, dude. It's 2025.
I was saying before we even started recording, if this was a matchup 10 years ago, fucking crazy.
10 years ago, probably still would have favored Joe Flacco -6.5. But the Bengals,
100%.
Bengals -6.5. Both teams 3-4 against the spread so far to start the year. Some interesting sides of the ball for the Jets, whereas like we're seeing Breece Hall get a little limited as of today. Sauce Gardner did not play. Concussion protocol there. Garrett Wilson, I think he's leaning right now they're saying it's questionable. If I, just my own personal opinion on it, if he does play, I'd be a little worrisome, but I don't think he is going to. So with all of that being said, I'm confidently taking the Bengals here, and that's how it is across. Is there any reason, anything that you can point out to like specifically on the offensive side of the ball for the Jets? So like anything
Uh,
you can say.
I mean, if Wilson or Hall do play, like essentially, ultimately they are threats. I mean, it's just really going to depend on who is the quarterback and what are they able to do against a Bengals defense who is still bad, very bad. It's just like Tyrod Taylor for a whole 4 quarters, 15 minutes per quarter. I don't know.
Does he
Just
make it? Does he
I mean,
last?
hey, Flacco's still going. He's just no
Flacco
Flacco.
didn't die.
Yeah, Flacco did
Yeah,
not
he did
die.
die.
TJ
Not
Watt,
yet.
not yet. But no, I think if there's any way that are you asking if they cover or if they win?
Just if there's anything you could really advocate for the Jets, because I can't advocate for a fucking JV team. Your backup quarterback.
No.
If Brees Hall doesn't play, your RB3 is starting. Wide receivers. Can anybody here name the wide receiving core? Like you throwing Alan Lazard, Mason Taylor is your
Josh
tight end.
Reynolds,
Josh Reynolds.
Like it's
Mason Taylor.
ugly. It's
yeah,
ugly.
it's bad. And
Yeah.
Sauce is out.
Really bad.
I'll just throw my player or my pick of the week for this game. I gotta obviously go Jamar if you just saw the volume and how much he just did against the Steelers, and that's a clear pick. But yeah, like he had Jalen Ramsey on him last game. They were saying how he was gonna put Jalen Ramsey. It was gonna be a long night for Jalen Ramsey. Now the Jets don't even have their best corner in there, and God knows what that stat line might look like. But I think he's gonna have a monster game.
And that's why I'm going with the Flack Show, baby. And I know Nico's actually with me with this pick too. I mean, I kind of touched upon this briefly at the pod last week. I kind of said like I think Joe Flacco makes this Bengals team look completely different on offense, and he did. He was able to. He was really able to utilize under pressure very well. I mean, the Steelers. If you watch that game, like T.J. Watt almost got to him multiple times. Flacco just has the ability to get the ball out so fast and actually make completions off of it, not just chunk plays or not just throwing the ball away. So against this terrible Jets team, I really do think Joe Flacco's a start this week. I really think production from Jamar Chase and T Higgins is going to be there. Um, yeah, I like the Flack Show, man.
People
I
are
like
going to
it.
need QBs this week. Again, with all the buys.
Mhm.
You're seeing no Stafford. You're seeing no Darnold, no T-Law, no Goff. So yeah, I like the Flack Show as my starting QB this week, and I like the Bengals -6.5.
I do as well.
Jumping in to the next matchup, I'm actually going to be at this game, which I'm really excited for. And that's
Oh yeah,
that's
right.
Bears at Ravens -6.5. The return for Lamar, and a Bears team that's also been playing pretty good ball as of late. Um, we saw the Bears dominate on the ground last week with both DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai. Caleb Williams didn't really do much through the air, but wasn't necessarily needed for what they were doing. We've seen a Ravens defense that's been incredibly banged up, and they've played just like they should with most of their payroll sitting on IR. And looking at the picks for this week, Nick, I'm actually going to give the floor to you here, because both Brooklyn and I are rocking the dogs on the road. Don't tell my friends who I'm going with because got some Ravens fans in the car. Um, but Nick, why you think Lamar's return? They're going to cover a spread of 6.5.
I do. I genuinely do because you you honestly made a good point about how this Ravens team, like especially with just how much better they are with Lamar Jackson. Um, Looking through the first 3 weeks when he played, they put up 40 points against the Bills, 41 points against the Browns, who I mean at the time weren't rated highly on defense, but now best rushing defense, 41 points, and then 30 points against the Ravens. 20 points against the Chiefs, but granted, that's when Lamar went down. And then, I mean, after his injury, 10 and 13 points. That's ugly. But, I mean, when Lamar's there on offense, the offense is flowing. The points are there. We were talking about Zay Flowers' production very early on in the season. Derrick Henry was on track. He had almost 200 rushing yards week one. And, I mean, your point showed that just when he's not out there, the whole offense is lacking, and it shows. So, I mean, with him being back, with him having all this rest, especially after the bye week, I definitely can see them covering 6.5 spread. against this Bears defense.
For me, I kind of thought it was like if this line was like 3.5, maybe I lean Baltimore. But we've seen some Lamar shootouts in the past. I do think I think the offense is going to come back and kind of pick up where it left off when he was there. But I don't think there's anything that we can really like. We can't forget how bad the defense is. If in my perfect game script, I think this game gets decided by a field goal. So in that case, like, I still think Baltimore can very easily win this game, but it's not. Well, I think they can win. I just don't think it's going to be easy. Brooklyn, do you kind of feel the same there, or do you think Bears are just outright going to take it?
No, I'm with you. I think that the Ravens have a good shot of walking out of this one with a win, a very much needed win. But Chicago's been playing pretty decent recently, especially against. They face some adversity and been able to come out on top. And I just think that right now, with the role that they're on, they have good momentum going into this game. Also, a win against Baltimore on the road here would be big for them. Now, the only thing that makes me nervous now is seeing the injuries. Kind of, if we're looking at Swift, who's not playing now, he's been pretty important for that offense recently. DJ Moore, he hasn't done much for them all year, but at the same time, that is taking something out of that rotation. Ultimately, I do think
another Red Rocket
reference. Touchdown might be a little too high for just a Ravens team that kind of needs to prove that they can still get things going here. But Lamar, if he is coming back, as long as he's not a little rusty right now, if he is, I'm predicting that he might not just be right back at full speed. I think Chicago can keep it close enough to either lose within a touchdown or possibly win, but I don't see them winning this game.
Picks of the week. Nick kind of did the explaining for us, although not his pick of the. Or I keep saying pick of the week because of the acronym. It's so bad. Player to watch this week. Player to watch in this matchup. Zay Flowers. Again with Lamar through the first 2 weeks, 14 catches, over 250 yards. That's when he's there, it's going to be he's that chunk play guy, and we've kind of seen Zay Flowers through his career kind of disappear at some points during the season. So and from my perspective on it, this is a very very obvious bounce back game for him. Both Brooklyn and I agree there. Nick, you chose Derrick Henry, kind of same reasoning.
Yeah, basically the same thing. It's a bounce back week for him. He's looked pretty lackluster without Lamar at quarterback, and it's kind of showed. I think just having the leniency of having two guys that can run over 100 rushing yards on you definitely helps him. It kind of showcases him. And I also just think formation-wise, they can do a little bit with Lamar that they can't do with Huntley or Cooper Rush. So I like Derrick Henry this week too.
I'm gonna
now. I want to my little fun fact and for that all-time record here again. This one's kind of just funky. Bears are 4-3 all-time against the Ravens. Last time they played was in 2021, of which they played against Tyler Huntley, who got the start for that game. Lamar must have been injured, but previous meeting before that was 2017. They haven't played against Lamar Jackson yet, so this is going to be kind of interesting to me. Just like
haven't played against Caleb Williams yet.
Yeah, but he's not Lamar Jackson. The thing is, like, it's really, really interesting now. It's that really, I don't know. It's kind of a stat that stands out once you read it. You're like, oh my God, the Bears have not played against Lamar yet. It's just kind of crazy. So that's just kind of something I thought was cool. But yeah, keep going.
Nick, grip the mic because this is your game. Take the floor. Oh. Okay.
So,
jeez, too many dick jokes. Too many in this episode. for those not watching, which YouTube like that _pod. Nick just gripped physically the mic. But anywho,
yes,
this
is my pick of the week. I am going with Atlanta -7 over the Miami Dolphins. There in Atlanta. Just some key injuries to look out for this week. Darnell Mooney was limited this week. Michael Penix has been dealing with the bone bruise, but they came out today. They said that it's just day-to-day, but they're pretty confident that he is going to play this weekend. Tyler Algier, too. He's been pretty banged up, so he was limited. Miami side, Darren Waller just put on IR today. Tight end, I think he was a tight end 1 or 2 a few weeks ago in fantasy.
Nico called him a set it and forget it type of guy.
Red zone threat. That's it for him, at least for a month. But yeah, this is my pick of the week. I really like Atlanta in this game. I like this line at -7. I'm surprised it's pretty low. It's Atlanta, tough loss on Sunday Night Football. Bijan still was able to do his thing, but Penix unfortunately looked rough in the passing game. But I I think they're gonna make a comeback, especially against this terrible Miami Dolphins team. Miami's last in rushing defense, the 156 yards per game, and then Bijan can show that he will dominate against your bad rushing defense. Had 170 rushing yards against the Bills in that primetime game, especially the 80-yard touchdown run. Um, Miami has lost by double digits on the road twice. Falcons have averaged over 400 yards on offense at home this season and 3 touchdowns a game. So they're scoring the ball a lot. Um, Atlanta, they still rank first in passing defense. Even with the win again, or even with the loss, Mac Jones still 156 yards passing and a turnover. It was really CMC kind of leading the way. But if you look at this Dolphins roster, who are you saying is going to do this? I mean, HN. I mean, I really see if anything, HN's just going to have a day running the ball, a lot of checkdowns. But I mean, I don't really see Tua really getting any passes off against this defense. I think it's, especially with the throws that he had against this bad Denver Broncos defense, I think it's going to be ugly. I know Tua was also dealing with the thumb issue, but he's fully practicing. He's good to go. But even with that, you never know. Miami's 1-6. Last time they played Atlanta, they were 1-6. This was Brooklyn's fun fact. Sorry for stealing your thunder. I just saw it.
Yeah. No, I was like, I want to throw that in there. Yeah. No, they're good. They're good.
But yeah, I'm taking Atlanta -7. My player to watch for the week, Bijan Robinson. I just think he's gonna have a field day over this Miami defense. But yeah, going with the birds, baby.
I don't have too much on this game. We're looking at a really bad Dolphins team, just in almost every facet. Out if you take off Achan, like Tua, granted against a tough Browns defense, but like that was bad. He has to get taken out, and it seems like from the locker or all the press conferences, like the locker room's messed up. Like this is just not a team. When you just look at all the outside factors of it, even look on the field too, they've been ass. But even when you look off the field, it just doesn't seem like this is a fully connected team, and that's not a place that I'm going to invest money in. I don't think the Dolphins keep this a 1-score game.
I also think the front office in Miami's just losing trust in Mike McDaniel. I think he's on his way out. I think it's just.
if they haven't,
I think it's
already,
kind of confirmed.
That team is atrocious.
It's
I
coming.
think it's almost like what is it? The Titans owe, or no? If you think about how much Penn State owes the guy they just fired, you just fire McDaniel now. I feel like the season's kind of chalked. You just deal with it and then move on. Cut him after the year.
Yeah.
I mean,
not a good day to be a
yes,
fan of
no.
Flipper. Anything you want to throw in the fins, Brooklyn, or we good?
No. I mean, the fun fact was really all I had on this game was just the 1-6 last time they played, and right now they're currently 1-6.
Not gonna be much fun. I wanted to highlight Drake London as my player to watch in this game. Kind of just like Bijan. I think this offense is gonna have no problems. But Drake London is just gonna, for a pretty good opportunity to get some good yards after the catch against another pretty poor secondary. But jumping
You see
in,
Kyle Pitts have the game he's always dreamt of right here.
I'm kind of happy. I've never
He's
owned.
always wanted to be.
I've never owned Pitts. I've always wanted him, but never owned him. I don't know the pain.
No, you don't. No, you don't, man. You don't want that fucking pain. No, you don't.
Cool
4
thing about
years.
this game though,
4 years of pain.
Battle of the Lefties. That's cool. Sorry, that's all I got there. San Francisco at Houston. Line favoring San Fran. Houston at home +1.5. A couple weeks back, I said I wouldn't bet against Shanahan, and here I am again betting against Shanahan. I think that especially I did it back-to-back weeks.
Nice, dude.
This is
Nice.
kind of a
Going against-
ballsy one.
Going to get your pick.
You go ahead. I kind of don't like your pick here.
I can understand that, and I don't want to say, because again, the 49ers, they've played good ball with how poor of a roster they've had to deal with so many just injuries to their main players. But I think there just has to be some natural regression that hits at some point. That Cardinals game that they had was really ugly. That's when Purdy first goes down. Then you have the win against the Jags, or the loss against the Jags, excuse me. But then you beat the Rams, you beat the Bucks, or excuse me, I'm all over the place again. They've just been I don't know, like just
You're just so confused why you're taking this pick. You don't even know how to explain it.
I think this is just like a get right game for Houston. Like the line being at 1.5, I think kind of showcases that. Like we saw Houston kind of struggle against the Seahawks on Monday Night Football, and a
Kind of,
defense.
brother. It was ugly.
The defense is keeping them alive. I'm not gonna discount this offense. I think they're gonna find it at some point. And I think the defense can keep them in this game. The
I know, but
casino thinks it's close. Why you
right,
think this should
but
be
like
like three and a
you
half?
look at. I think that this is a bad line I mean, I guess to cover 1.5. Like you're looking at a San Fran team that CMAC just shredded up the Falcons, who also have a very good defense, and like Houston, I don't think that they're much different from Atlanta in terms of like, yeah, they're a good defense, but like CMAC's been killing it this year. Kittle didn't get any action last game. I don't think that happens again this week. Is Purdy starting, or is he playing, or is it still Mac Jones?
He's limited right now.
Okay, so even if he's limited, you got both C-Mac and Kittle back. I think that offense is going to start to show a little bit more of its strengths now. And now, Houston does have a very sound defense, but again, I'm looking at what C-Mac just did to the Falcons, and he's been carrying that momentum every single week.
We're talking about the
So
number one defense in EPA per play. Number
right,
one.
They're
also
ranked
talking
top
about
5 in every category. I'm
but
pretty
we were
sure.
also
What
just
are the
talking
what are
about the Falcons,
the
who were like the best defense in the league that just got destroyed last week.
I think
It's just
best
kind of hard.
defense in the league's kind of generous there.
I think if
best
you
pass
look at the
defense
stats
in the league?
for, I forget exactly which category they were leading, but they also let up some of the least amount of points, I believe, through like week 6 or whatever. But then yeah, they just got lit up by CMAC. I think that plus 1.5 is way too narrow to go on Houston's side, and I think that San Francisco definitely is going to win this game, and it's going to be by at least more than a field goal.
I have to double check something really quick. But there's one insane outlier I think with like again, I'm praising this Texans defense, but through the start of the season, they've only allowed 4 passing touchdowns. 4. And yes, McCaffrey had a bounce back game against an Atlanta D line last week. But if they're locking down through the air and the D line, can McCaffrey do it back to back weeks against a good D line? I don't know. When I was looking at my slate for the week, every time I look at it, I take like a step back because there's always going to be a couple games through the week where there are head scratchers. You're like, how did the underdog pull that one out necessarily? And again, we're a beat up 49ers team against statistically through 7 weeks the best ranked defense.
And they're at home, right?
And they're at home. So I'm now a little. This kind of just fired me up. I'm gonna be up on the Texans this week.
You can be, man. And frankly, I'm not going to touch this game, but I just think, seeing how CMAC just kind of dismantled a pretty decent Atlanta Falcons defense, I just can't take a line that's thin. That's that thin.
If Nico's out, that's also that's gonna hurt the game script obviously a little bit. My player to watch this week, funny enough, kind of goes with that. Because I'm talking Jalen Noel, rookie wide receiver. That last week he ended up getting 7 catches, 77 yards last week. So I think it's another guy that if there's no Nico, they're gonna have to call on somebody. I mean, Dalton Schultz had a big game last week as well for them. But I kind of like again we're talking this is an ugly start pick, but. I don't know about you, but I'm in some leagues where like I got Woody Marks as my RB2. Like where there are gonna be some ugly starts you gotta make. So
So ugly.
no, it's bad. There's no hope for me in that league. The draft didn't go the way I wanted it to. Players to watch in this game for you guys.
Mine's McCaffrey. That's pretty straightforward based on what just happened last week. I think he started picking up both, especially on the rushing end, but he's also been a dual threat. We've seen that game by game. I like the momentum he's carrying into this week. He got a lot of power rush opportunities. Saw some great things too. He's patient in the backfield. As long as the 49ers can kind of ride that high, I think again with this spread, or even just with C-Mac in general, he's been efficient all year. He's just going to keep doing that this week.
You talk so quick.
I'm going
This year,
with
this week.
I'm going with Mr. Kittle. And I'm only saying this because especially against this highly ranked passing defense, if it's Mac or if it's Purdy, especially if it is Purdy this weekend, I do see Kittle getting a lot of targets, a lot of usage, a lot of low yardage catches, especially yards after the run, yards after the catch. You know, I'm not gonna say what he did last Sunday night because I fell asleep way too early, so I'm not entirely sure the impact that he had on
Oh,
the Falcons or the Sunday night game last week.
you know his stat line though.
But no, I don't. Off the top.
Well, it's a pretty good bounce back. If you want to talk about like having a pretty low floor,
I can assume he didn't do anything.
he had
Like actually nothing.
he had 2 targets.
Yeah. Yeah. That'll
Targets.
go.
And that's it.
So he had a good rest game, basically. He had a good game to just be out there, get a good sense.
he was
He was
just
gone for a long time. I can see him bouncing back.
It was the reason why McCaffrey did what he did, and they showed a lot of plays where Kittle set a lot of blocks that led to a lot of McCaffrey success. So it wasn't a non-factor.
if you look at last year, he had a couple stinker games. Like week 13, 2 points. Week 18, or granted, week 18 fantasy playoffs, he had 5. With that being said, you go the year prior, he never had 2 weeks in a row with less than double digits. So basing that, there's only one place to go but up, baby.
I see that this week, baby.
I see another pick of the week on the board, so I'm gonna let Brooklyn take control here.
Of what?
Our first 4:00 matchup of week 8.
Pick of the week. Sorry, we keep having POTW in it for 2 different things. It's like,
we gotta figure out a new acronym for
like
player to
the
watch.
Oh my
Niners,
god.
Yeah.
For
Okay,
what?
let's go to my pick of the week here. So right now we're looking at Buccaneers versus Saints, and I specifically like this game. And I know we're looking at the Buccaneers just lost the Lions. Like we all know the Lions are potentially the most potent offense in the league. That was going to be a tough game from the start, just for the Buccaneers to even keep up with that scoring volume, and we saw that. Baker had some bad looks. It was kind of tough for him because the Lions kept mixing up their coverage. Let's go into this week now. They're playing a 1-6 awful Saints team. Injuries, is nothing that they haven't seen already for parts of this season. Bucky Irving's been out for a couple weeks now. Mike Evans, unfortunate injury. Hopefully that doesn't end his career, but also Chris Godwin out. That leaves them kind of with a couple spots that they were in before already in a couple weeks earlier this season. Now they're looking for a big bounce back off that rough loss. I like Baker here to kind of just shake off the rust. I don't think that the Saints has a efficient enough offense to the point where they can even keep up with the volume of scoring that Tampa might be able to put on them this week. On top of that, Baker's already shown good connections with Tez Johnson. Kate Otten got 9 targets last week. He had a pretty good week for a tight end. And of course, Rachaad White still can pretty much hold his own as an RB1 option there. I don't think that the Bucs should be deterred at all from that Monday night game. That was going to be a hard game again for them to keep up in. Now, this is where I really think that this is a good line. I'm taking -4.5, and I think right now it's -4. In favor of the Buccaneers is that Spencer Rattler has just been so subpar. Last week, I believe against Chicago, he had 3 interceptions, made some real bad choices with some throws, but also the Saints have only totaled 20 points in just 1 game this year. And I look at Spencer Rattler's conversions in the red zone. He's 6 of 32. That is, I think, 18.75% of those passes that he's tried to get into the end zone. 6 of them have resulted in a touchdown. Bucs are a top 10 rushing defense, so if you look at who they really have, it's a bad quarterback and a decent backfield, I guess, with Kamara. Kendrick Miller ain't gonna be there.
Devin Neal. Pick up Devin Neal in your
can-
leagues.
Devin Neal.
If they do contain Kamara throughout that game, I don't really see exactly what Spencer Rattler is going to be able to dominate with. It's just a game that I think Bucs keep their momentum. Baker keeps playing like one of the top quarterbacks, if not an MVP candidate, like shaken off last week. Saints can't keep up with that amount of scoring, and I think that the Bucs can easily clear this by over 4, maybe even just a touchdown. But yeah,
Last 6 games against each other. Saints are 1-5. Um, they they obviously won that one game, but 2 games ago, if we're dating back to October of last year, the Bucks beat them 51-27. Obviously, again, a lot of injuries on that side of the ball for the Bucks, but all three of us leaning with your pick of the week, going Tampa Bay -4.5. And you kind of said it best with all the notes that you were discussing, our players to watch. I always talk about Tez Johnson, all the injuries to that wide receiver room. Igbuka's probably going to be there, but Tez Johnson continuing to get those targets. Same thing with Cade Otton, kind of taking those Godwin Evans targets out, going to them now. And Nick kind of praising Baker there too, because I mean, fantasy wise, Baker's always been a gunslinger. He's going to help out the fantasy value. But again, it's kind of similar to the Dolphins, man. Like, it's a bad team. It's tough to defend a bad team when you're trying to bet on them. And I'm not putting my money on Rattler. And I think 4.5 is generous as hell. I know the Bucks are on the road,
Saints
but
last week, so they're Saints are on the ban list.
they should have been.
Yeah, Saints have only covered that 20 points in a game. What did I say? Was it like once or twice this year already? I believe the Bucks have put up at least 20 in every single game that they played. And if you look at the highest receiving or highest rushing yards for that, it's stuff like that. It's names that we've seen all year from them. It is I believe Irving and just Rachaad White doing all that rushing stuff. Of course, you expect that, but Rachaad White, can hold his own. Buka's been carrying his own. Sterling Shepard's been a surprise that he's been making the most out of each reception he gets. So I don't think that just with with the injuries that they're facing right now, that it's going to really make or break against the Saints. I don't think the Saints can keep up with the volume.
Last 10 games, only 2 games where they scored above 20 points, with the highest being 26, and then there was 21. And they only won one of those games. So, yeah, Saints.
Saints? Yeah, okay. That's right. That makes sense.
Almost my pick of the week, but I didn't. But still a good one to talk about. Titans heading over to the Colts. Colts -14. And, whew. Now this is funny.
Last time we had a spread like this, we took the underdog, but I don't think I'm fucking taking the Titans. No. I'm sorry.
There's no overthinking. There's no overanalyzing. We're talking about the best team in the league, the Indianapolis Colts. Crazy sentence to say in the beginning of the year, but they are. Numbers don't lie. And the Titans, one of the worst, if not the worst, right next to the Dolphins. I went far back. I went the last 39 games for the Titans to see their against the spread records, and it is 9-29-1.
That's ridiculous.
Wow.
I mean, 14 points is a lot, but
one of those wins, Nico, was my pick that got you so angry.
Stop. We don't have to hear about that. We're done with that game. We're past that.
Vikings Cardinals.
What are you trying to give hope to Titans fans? Shouldn't have some.
Fuck no. What hope do you have? What hope do you have? Your number one pick can't even wind up to throw the fucking football without fumbling it.
How high?
He does it twice.
Hey, I've shit a lot on the Titans, but I don't blame Cam Ward. Cam Ward is I think top 3 in interception percentage, just off of his his own passes. I don't think it's his fault. I just think he's around a whole lot of shit, and he's still a
getting the ball when he's going to.
He's had some good throws.
Yeah, the ball can get a little slippery. I don't know, but anywho, I'm not praising him. Titans suck. My question to you guys: I would take this line at 19.5. I would willingly take the Colts at 19.5.
I don't. Okay, but this is a complete.
I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna say that because this is being posted, and you don't have a good track record with that type of stuff. But
it's being clipped.
Looking at the injuries, Jeffrey Simmons hurt his hamstring against the Pats. He got taken out. He's probably not playing this weekend. L'Jarius Sneed too, quad injury. He's not playing this weekend. So you have your 2 best defensive players, granted, keyword best, gone against a team that has the most points scored in the league. Yeah.
19.5 is plus 158 on DK.
What? It's not even plus 200 odds.
No.
It's sad.
Fuck. I
Oh,
might take
God.
that.
Yo, I don't know, dude. Minus 19 and a half. I just wouldn't even stick.
Good value.
I wouldn't even touch that spread. Like that's just got to be a trap in any
I can
situation.
definitely
where-
see.
It's
I
no.
can definitely see it happening though. I would bet Alec Pierce 2 touchdowns at this point.
If this is
Who
a
the fuck
trap,
knows?
if this is a trap, you could put the mouse ears on me, baby. I'm
No,
going for that
this is-
cheese.
If we're talking about a trap game, this is the trap game of the weekend.
No, it's
Like,
not. Worst team in football versus the best team in football. How does this be? How is this a two?
I agree with Nico. It's kind of logistics. Like, yeah, worst team versus the best. I just think, well, minus 14, like whatever. I think they can definitely. I think they're.
What
gonna
are their
get some
odds for
touchdowns.
minus 14?
19 and a
right
half.
Minus-
Probably like minus one.
Minus
What is-
14.
what is their-
it's
what-
even odds. Minus 110.
Oh, what the fuck.
That's what the game line's at.
now? What's that percentage? I need to know this.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Are you shitting me?
That's what I'm curious about.
That percentage.
Is it-
for the
Like
Titans?
what does 28
No,
to
yeah.
14? Does 28 to 14 sound like a realistic score?
No.
Does 20 to 6?
Money percentage right now for the
56
Colts,
to
minus
nothing
14.
sounds like a realistic score.
Minus 14, there is 61% of the money on the Colts. 30% from the public on the Titans. Now, the projected score for this game is 36
Alright.
to 18.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Let's go
Okay.
Colts. This is our team.
Colts against the spread is
We
5 and
blew.
2.
Players to watch. I'm actually shouting out a Titan here. Again, ugly weeks. I'm not picking the easy ones. I wanted something to look good on paper. We're going to AO Manor.
Shot
Tyler
at me.
Tyler Lockett asked to be released. Granted, he wasn't doing much outside of picking up a bullshit touchdown against the Cardinals.
That was crazy. That was also crazy though. He's just like, I'm getting old. You guys suck. Get me the fuck out of here. And they're like, we got you, bro.
He's not doing anything for them.
No.
But yeah,
Calvin Ridley can do the same at this point.
they're gonna be down a lot, and I think it's you got to pick between AO Manor and DK. And DK got the touchdown last
Yeah.
week, so I'm gonna go AO Manor. I see you both
Good night, DK. I mean,
rocking Tyler Warren.
Yeah, I like Tyler
mean,
Warren this week. Looking at the stats, Titans, they give up the 6th most fantasy points to tight ends this season, and that's not the Colts.
It's probably the best defensive
they average
stat.
around 9 points per game. Yeah. So I'm especially against this offense, and I mean they utilize Tyler Warren a lot. He's got a few
Lot.
receiving touchdowns already on the year, so I like him this week, especially against this terrible defense. So I mean Tyler Warren could start this week.
Going a little longer than I thought, so I'm gonna try to see if we can fly. Not necessarily fly, but let's speed walk these. Continuing the 4
Tyler
clocks.
Warren's yard per catch per week. Sorry, this last thing has not been under 10 a single week.
Yeah, I love Goldilocks over there.
Tyler Warren.
Yeah, dude, he's
Not been under 10 for yards per catch a single week.
disgusting.
Following matchup, we're going Dallas heading to Denver.
First down, free catch. Sorry.
Oh, you're fine. A little bit of some Cowboys versus some horses. What is this? We got the Cowboys versus the Broncos. You're shaking your head. You didn't like that one. I'm sorry.
No, but anytime I know, I just immediately had flashbacks to the Peyton Manning Tony Romo game. That's the lie.
I always
Because the high total last time the last time I can think of when these two teams played, that was this high in the total was that game.
I feel
Peyton Manning
this
when he
over-under is
faked out the
huge.
cameraman
oh
and then he rushed in. That was against the Cowboys.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
That was like 2013 though. That was a long time ago.
yeah, largest over under as you said at 50.5. I mean, every game with Dallas is probably going to be so far back-to-back weeks of Browns being in the lowest, Cowboys being in the highest.
Yeah.
Cowboys riding Nick and I at +3 on the road. I want to shout out Dak the last 4 weeks. Completion percentage of over 70%, 13 touchdowns, no interceptions. And the Broncos defense, again, they had a bad week last week against the Cowboys, but I think if there's anything we know about
Giants.
the Cowboys, Giants, sorry.
Giants.
But if there's anything we do know about the Cowboys, it's just that the offense is legit. CD back, Pickens has been legit. The run game's been established. Their defense has been bad, so like yeah, I think a shootout is expected. But I think through the last 3 weeks, the Cowboys have their offense been better than a Broncos defense. So for me, I kind of like them at plus odds here. Brooklyn, how come you didn't?
Going against Dallas for this one.
Yeah, you had Denver -3.
I kind of just like the Denver's defense right now against. I mean, I know Dallas is just going to keep slinging it and slinging it. CD had a pretty good comeback game, but I just think that Denver kind of sees this as a game that their defense still has to prove it, or very much has to prove it right now, that they can handle a team like Dallas with so many threats. I overall just think that Dallas has been playing well. I just think that Denver has a chance to just withhold their defensive strength here. But this isn't a game that I really loved by any means for any of the spread. So
Some injuries to monitor, especially for this already terrible Dallas defense. Trayvon Diggs did not practice. He actually suffered a concussion not playing. It was at home, I'm pretty sure. So he might not play this weekend. And I know Kenny Clark too, limited. So trade piece that they got for Micah might not play. So that's going to be tough for them too. So
I feel for Trey for
sack, man.
Denver does love sack. Top 5. Feel for Diggs. We all hit our head, opening a cabinet or something. You turn the corner too quick. We all been there.
To a concussion standpoint.
I have to bet in my lifetime I've
probably
been
got
concussed.
like marble marble cabinets, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
So for what reason are you like swinging your head up with that force? So you just slam it into like a marble cabinet.
Maybe he was on his phone. He looked bonk. I don't know, like walking
maybe
down.
he was like, "Holy shit, I have to play Denver this weekend."
That's more than a bonk, bro. That's like one of those cartoon hits where like you get like that little bump that comes out of your head. It's just like
the stars going around.
Yeah, you gotta do more than a bonk to do that, bro.
Our players to watch, we actually all have the same, and it's the only one that doesn't have a specific name. A quote right on the notes: any Denver receiver, Courtland Sutton, Troy Franklin, Marvin Mims. I think any of them could have really crazy games.
Yeah, I agree. I like Sutton specifically because I mean he's had a few weeks where like when he's been the number one target for Bo Nix, he's definitely delivered a few receiving touchdowns, a few hundred receiving yards on the year. I like any receiver here. I mean any Broncos receiver can have a big day. I know Troy Franklin had a big week a few weeks ago. I mean he's a guy to look out for too. Marvin Mims too, especially. Young guy that they've actually been able to utilize pretty well in their offense. I could see him probably getting a few jet passes out there. Be interesting, but yeah, I like anyone on this Denver offense.
Yeah, I'm really just gonna leave with any Denver receiver or running back, any Denver player this week.
Even the linemen. I think the linemen could catch a touchdown.
Hey, they almost did last week.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
You see I'll send it in the group chat after. You see the picture of him just like face planting in the end zone, like just starfished. Rough look, but hey, they won. Didn't cover though. Sunday Night Football. Very interesting matchup. We got the Aaron Rodgers return, I say Green Bay's coming to Pittsburgh actually, but
you're coming to Towel Land.
A revenge game for Rodgers? Question mark.
What is Towel?
Like that.
Steelers.
They do Yellow Towel. Steel City.
Is that distinctly the Steelers?
Yeah.
Well, all NFL teams have towels.
Right.
Yeah,
I hope
that.
That's why I was like, the Steelers are specifically like the towel team.
No, but like they're known for that.
What about those Bumblebee jerseys? They're known for that too.
Ugly ass uniforms. The Packers got ugly throwbacks too.
Gotta be the ugliest uniforms I've ever seen in my life.
We got to see the Bumblebee. They should do the Bumblebee uniform, and the Packers should do the Leatherheads.
Fuck no.
But the Packers do the leather.
Terrible towel.
terrible talent, bro. This is something.
It became
I
a team and
not
fan
met.
icon. Yeah, they do it before every game. They've been doing it since 1975.
Oh, they have. Oh wow.
How many
They
how many
took-
towels do you
I'm
see at
talking
Bills
about.
games? They were not, I don't see at Gillette Stadium them
I
going
mean,
like
bro,
this.
They
went
just
to-
throw
we went-
snowballs.
Yeah, I was gonna
At
say,
the
we
Bills
just
game,
went-
they
And
we
they're
went to,
closed.
We went to
snowballs.
the one snow game of the year. Like, oh my god, it says terrible towel on it. You can't even fucking read that thing.
Yeah, they do it every week, and then when they're running in, they do it on the broadcast. You'll see it Sunday night. Watch them; they'll be going like this.
Oh shit! All right.
Yeah.
So with that being said, both of you guys are going to be holding those towels because I see both of you guys picking the Steelers this week. I'm going Green Bay just because I think that we see.
You.
Yeah, I like cheese. I love cheese. I'm not lactose.
Literally, you literally are a mouse. You've been talking about going for the cheese. All
Yeah,
the
yeah. Like the Colts is a trap. Like this is another one that I think that the
Mickey years, man.
Green Bay, granted, like they have looked really questionable. They almost lose to Jacoby Brissett and the Cardinals. Hell of a pick by your boy, by the way. I mean, but anywho,
Spread.
stop. But sorry, we're so off track. This is a Packers team that is only getting healthier, which is I don't think is something you could really say for most teams. Christian Watson gonna be back, and like I think that's something that could really, really change this offense. Another dynamic playmaker for him. Josh Jacobs is healthy, and when he is healthy, like he is the most stable thing about that team. And we're seeing a Packers team that is filled with a bunch of solid wide receivers, not necessarily like your A tier guy, but a bunch of guys that against a bad secondary, somebody's gonna have a good day. I like seeing Steelers at home. I almost wanted to lean that way, but I think there's another get back game for the Cheeseheads. But you guys both see Rodgers just slinging it against the old team, popping a perk, dropping a couple touchdowns.
I do. I mean, against that Bengals team, I mean, obviously that defense was so gross, and I know. I mean, if you really think about it, Pittsburgh was probably not ready to play Flacco. I mean, that trade happened like a few days before the game, so I mean, like they probably didn't have a lot of time. They also didn't know how he was going to be able to react to their defensive pressure. I think having Rodgers is a little bit. I think it helps a little bit more. And I mean, like every fucking tight end scored for the Steelers last week. I do. DK Metcalf did not.
Yeah,
I almost
so
lost.
fucking-
I almost lost my matchup because of Pat Fryermuth. He was projected
Oh,
4
Oh,
points.
that was
DK
nuts.
Metcalf did not get a single target in the second half of that game. I do not think that happens again.
Yeah, we got Pat
I-
taking 2 touchdowns. Oh my.
So I like Pittsburgh here. I think Aaron Rodgers is set up for blood. Also, it was that's a tough loss to a Bengals team, especially when they were leading in that division, especially with every other team being hurt. They were the only team that was kind of healthy. They're sitting at 5-1. They were looking to go 6-1. I do think they beat Green Bay. They would look a more legit 6-2 looking team. But I mean, I do like them to at least cover 3.5. I do think it'll be close.
I mean, you look at the Steelers right now. Like DK had a bad week against the Bengals. Yeah, it was a little shocking, but overall, he's been decent. Now I like Steelers here plus 3.5 to possibly even win. For a large reason of Rodgers has looked pretty solid so far, and at the same time, like you're talking about Christian Watson coming back, but he hasn't played all year. You think they're just going to throw him back into full snap percentage? The only thing that's going to be a real threat right now is going to be, can they stop Josh Jacobs this week? I believe in multiple games. I think he only hasn't scored, I believe, in 2 games. Multiple games he has logged 2 touchdowns, so it's a little worrisome.
Steelers
in
not
terms of-
necessarily great against the run either.
In terms of that aspect, it is going to be interesting to see if they can kind of hold down Josh Jacobs, and but at the same time, like I think that overall offensive strength wise, Steelers kind of got Green Bay outmatched at the moment. Now depends on we'll see how much Christian Watson plays, but I don't think that he was able to log a limited practice. I don't think that's overly positive.
One thing, kind of going off of your Josh Jacobs player to watch of this game, against when the Bengals played them last week, Chase Brown best rushing game of the season so far, but he only had 2 rushes to the right side where T.J. Watt was sitting, and he got a combined 8 yards. Everything else was on the other side. So if the Packers kind of emulate that, we could see a big day for Josh Jacobs. My player to watch from this game, actually, funny enough, is Aaron Rodgers. Why? Throwing the numbers out the window for this one. Like we know Aaron Rodgers. He's got a little personality to him, to say the least. And what he's the type of guy that, he's not going to want to hand the ball off. He's going to, like, if they're in the red zone, I think he's going to try to show Green Bay he's like, yeah, this is why, I still got it in the tank, and I didn't need you guys. And it's just like very Rodgers-esque, and so I'm kind of taking that just for the narrative. I think he'll have a good game.
And I'm taking DK mostly because if your narrative is correct, I feel like he's going to be the guy that's going to benefit most from it.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been able to get into the end zone. He's, aside from the second half of last game, he's been Rodgers' favorite target. But I mean, that shouldn't happen, especially against a Bengals defense like that. I don't see that happening again. I don't see Pat Freiermuth scoring 2 touchdowns again this week, and especially one of them being over fucking 60 yards. How long was it? Something
too
ridiculous.
long.
It was too long.
And Aaron Rodgers gets like tackled by his own teammate, and then gets like uncompressed.
That was hilarious, dude. That was
Get the
so
fuck off
funny.
me!
Get the fuck off me!
Yeah, I almost had my Jamar Chase masterclass in fantasy get ruined because Pat Freiermuth. I don't know how many people faced Pat Freiermuth last week in fantasy. I did. Projected 4 points, finished at 26. So kind of crazy there. Final game of the week though, Monday Night Football, and I don't know, for everybody listening, you've only heard 2 picks of the week because we got one right here. My pick of the week is going to be the Chiefs minus 10.5 against a very beat up Washington team. We just mentioned the Steelers. Didn't even mention that they're, the oldest team in the league. Second oldest, Washington, funny enough. But the Chiefs minus 10.5.
Know that.
Them getting Rice back is like the last infinity stone for this offense. They're second in EPA. Just as a general offense, like we've just been seeing them just consistently just be able to just dominate on that side of the ball. Second lowest interception rate. They're 9th in total rushing yards and top 5 in EPA there. And we talked about their rushing overall so far this year. It hasn't been great. Isaiah Pacheco, or Pacheco, if you have him in fantasy, because he's been disappointing as hell. 14-man league. He's my RB2. It's painful.
About that spelling. I couldn't sound that out.
Yeah, it's a little Pacheco. He's been a little bit of a hoe for my lineup.
Yeah.
But or Pacheco hole, because he's a hole in your lineup too. Whatever you want to use. But 271 rushing yards on the season. Mahomes is 250. And I know we've talked a lot about his scrambling so far, but like 250, he's almost the leading rusher. This isn't Lamar. This isn't like Justin Fields. We're talking Patrick Mahomes. So like the offense is again number 2 statistically, and the rushing has been carried by their quarterback. And you got Rice back.
He's scoring too when he's rushing. Not to interrupt you.
No, you're fine.
Also, like it's also not like he's just. It's actually like scoring drives too, like red zone, like crucial red zone touches too. He's just able to get in there wide open, like nobody's covering him.
They dog walked the Raiders, and I made the mistake last week thinking they could keep it close. And the Commanders are, like I said, beat up. No Jaden Daniels this week. Debo and Terry are still questionable. And the Commanders' defense has also been really bad, especially against the pass. Bottom 10 total in EPA, but 5th most passing yards allowed. I know the line's a little big for 10.5. I know it's a primetime game, but especially with the Chiefs at home, I think they're just going to keep cruising.
Yeah, I mean, I like this pick too, and especially now that Rice is back, that just I feel like the thing about the Chiefs that I feel like they've been waiting for a guy like Rashi to get back, because even if their rushing game isn't there, you have a guy that is so fast they can utilize him on wide receiver screenplays. They utilize him a lot in jet passes, jet sweeps.
He's everything. He's
He
everything to
kinda
that offense.
he's everything. I mean, this offense is very dynamic. I mean, and they've also like guys like Hollywood Brown is still making plays. Tyquan Thornton, he's catching the ball. It's very annoying to watch as a Patriots fan, but I mean, hey man, this Kansas City offense was still able to get it done. Mahomes, like I would say MVP esque, just the way he's been able to lead this offense. That like when you look at the depth chart and you see the names before Rice came back, it's like holy shit. And then you especially look at him leading the team in rushing. Yeah. Who, if you can tell who my player to watch is this week. Yeah, I'm rolling with your pick of the week. I like it.
My player to watch from this game is Rashi Rice. One cool thing from last week, he only played 41% of the snaps, ran 19 routes, was targeted in 10 of them. He is the guy.
He didn't even play half of the snaps.
41% on offense.
That's insane.
So yeah, I think we're the rest of the season. This is just going to be all Rashi. I was going to mention that like if you have Travis Kelce in fantasy, this is probably the time where I would try to sell because I think a lot of his usage is going to go down. But against that point, we have Brooklyn saying that that's his player to watch. And other thing I meant to highlight, even though actually, well, I take that back. We're all on the Chiefs. Nobody here riding with Mariota and the Commanders.
No.
But Brooklyn, you think this is a good game for Kelce?
I don't have much against any of our picks right now. I think either of the three are all good options of people to watch right now. Yeah, Rice is going to take a lot of targets away from Kelce right now, but at the same time, if if the Commanders are going to try to focus on someone other than Mahomes on that offense, it is going to be Rice. That could set up for Kelce's a big target, been there for a lot of years. Definitely could have another game like he showed against Jacksonville, 8-target game possibly. I'm sure he could have a good shot at a touchdown for this one. I just kind of like him to also kind of a high ceiling for this week, but really any Chiefs receiver is kind of set up for success this week. So, but I think Kelce could just have another sort of high ceiling week this week.
To recap our picks of the week, we have Nick taking Atlanta -7 at home against the Dolphins. We have Brooklyn taking the Bucks -4.5 on the road against the Saints. And then my Kansas City Chiefs at -10.5 at home against the Commanders. And with all of that, that is week 8 behind us now. Just a little sneak peek, just a couple minutes. I'm gonna tap into the world of NBA. If you haven't noticed, I've been kept looking at this my other screen here because I had the Knicks Cavs game on. Now I just transitioned to Spurs Mavericks, which I've Wemby's had some couple cool plays that I saw already. But
Cooper Flag is still scoreless at the moment.
His NBA debut.
For the second quarter.
But kind of granted, when this comes out,
dropped over 130 points.
What was that?
So, the Hornets dropped over 130 points. So
yeah, bad.
Good day to be a Nets fan, right?
Not a great season.
Good decade to be good time, good century to be a Nets fan.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be some basketball talk, especially when the NFL season wraps up. Then it's going to primarily be basketball. But I think when the two are going to be kind of coinciding with each other, we're going to have to delegate time where we see. But there's going to be basketball talk in the future, 100%. But when this podcast comes out, I don't necessarily think you'll be able to place our futures lay that we decided to propose. All of us brought a leg out for the NBA season. I'm going to start mine out with I took Brandon Miller for the season to to average more than 23 points a game. DraftKings was plus 170. You look at his first 2 seasons in the league, 18 points, jumped up last season to 21. And when you look at the Hornets as a whole, granted they put up 130 on opening night and he dropped over 23. So I don't want to say, I got 81 games to worry about, but so far it looks like a lock. But it's a Hornets team that is not good defensively and will most likely be trailing a lot this year. So I expect a guy like Miller to still take a lot of shots. And it's not necessarily an analytical trend, but you look at, his play style, I think is very similar to Anthony Edwards. And we saw Edwards kind of take that year 3 jump where he started averaging 25 a game. This is still LaMelo Ball's team, don't get me wrong. But I think we've seen other teams be able to live with their backcourt both averaging over 20 a night. So I think Brandon Miller is going to really come out and be that offensive threat that we've seen so far. But I think he's going to even take a step further this year.
I like
You
it.
want
I
to go?
like it. And
Both Hornets
yeah,
picks?
and to go with you, I'm going with a fellow Hornet, his teammate, LaMelo Ball. I like LaMelo to average 8+ assists on the season, which this game actually wrapped up tonight, and finished the game with 8. Actually,
We're
you
locked.
know, it was a lock. I really like this Hornets roster. They're young, and I mean they just dropped 130 points. I mean, granted, against bad defenses, it's clear that they can score the ball. Lamelo's very dynamic. He gets his whole team involved. I like the addition of Colin Sexton that they added to this year. Brandon Miller again gonna have a breakout year. I hope he does, anyways.
He
And
will.
Lamelo has
Don't worry, he will.
and I mean, in the years that LaMelo has been in the league, he's really utilized his playmaking, his ball awareness, really finding the open guy. Josh Green too. He's been pretty good for this Hornets team. Miles Bridges. I mean, he's back for a full season, so he's going to be pretty dynamic for this Hornets team. But yeah, I mean, if LaMelo can stay healthy, if he can play a full season or at least like 60, 70 games, I can see him averaging at least 8+ for the season.
6, 7. All right. So
Had
this
to be
pick there.
mentioned.
No, so for me, I'm gonna go for my future pick, and it's kind of, you might call it a reach because it's a very high number. That's gonna be D Book, over 28.5 points per game. I like this specifically for the fact that KD is gone and Jalen Green is nothing crazy. Very inconsistent player, and I think that this is a year that Booker is going to blow past 20 shot attempts, 22, 23, maybe 25 plus shot attempts for a lot of games. And he's probably also going to have, his random 50, 60 bomb game. But I think with not a lot of options around him, is going to be his year to, really take this team by the reins. And this is his team now. He is the dynamic scorer. He's the number one option. I think this is a big year for him to step up into that spotlight, and I kind of like him to just be a pretty consistent scoring option for that team to, drop at least 25 plus, maybe, a bunch of 30-point games there. He's a very high volume scorer. I think he's going to keep that up throughout the entirety of the season.
You guys, before we wrap up, any like hot takes you have for the season, for the NBA season? Just one quick, like, I wanted to shout out that I kind of think the Raptors are going to finish higher than the 7 seed. Like, I think they're going to make the playoffs in the East. I think they're going to be the 6 seed there. But I don't know if there's any preseason hot takes we have. I know as a Nets fan.
Out of the way. Yeah, I was going to say, I'll get mine out of the way. What was the line? You said 20?
It was 20.5 on the win total for the Brooklyn Nets.
Favored.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and God, they're going against the Hornets, of which they couldn't even make a dent on that. Yeah, I'm gonna go Nets under 20 wins, but the problem with that is just, as much as I hope that they do suck to the worst degree, they almost made the play-in last year and they were still very bad.
How many wins do you think they get if it's not 20?
I'm gonna say 16, maybe 18.
Oh no.
Dude, I don't know. This team is not great at all. Like I think they might.
Michael Porter Jr.
He's not going to get the ball if Cam Thomas won't pass him the ball. Like, they're just going to get mad at each other.
I'm curious to see how many shots both of them took combined.
Last I checked, MPJ was 4 for 12.
He finished tonight 5 for 15.
Oh,
Cam Thomas went 2 for 9.
How many assists combined for those two?
Right there. Yeah.
How many what?
How many assists did they combine for tonight?
They combined for a total of 7 assists.
Oh wow.
Oh, that's good.
Wow.
But minus 19 for both of them in terms of plus minus there. So they were the reason that we lost by 20 tonight.
Any hot takes, Nick?
I wasn't really prepared for this question, so I haven't really had time to necessarily think about it.
Yeah, a little on the fly.
I think the Celtics, granted, I'm big Celtics guy here. Their win total, I think on DraftKings was at 41.5 on the season. I think they win over 41 games. I think they can win at least 42 games. Like, I still think this team's good. You have Jaylen Brown, you have Anthony Simons, you have Derek White, you have young guys, Peyton Pritchard. I mean, not having an established center is gonna be tough. I mean, it's also been a problem that this team has had before, and they've been able to work around it. Not having Tatum is probably why the line is so low, but I do think they still have enough star power and at least help to where they can at least be a 40-win team in the East. I don't think that they'll win under 40 games. I think that's kind of crazy. They just won a championship 2 years ago. They lost a lot of their core pieces, like Drew and Kristaps, obviously, who Kristaps now looks just perfectly healthy in Atlanta. Very fucking annoying. But I still think this is a good Celtics team. I mean, they did just lose to Philly by 1, so I'm kind of pissed off right now. So I'm going to be going to bed pissed off. Great. But I don't think they're going to be terrible. I think they're not going to be as great, but I don't think it's a season to expect anything, but I don't think they're going to drop off completely.
Yeah, I think over 500 in the East is very, very doable.
Yeah.
But with that being said, that's episode 4 behind us. Can't wait to talk to you guys, talking about how we did. Again, scoreboard for the year. We're all pretty neck and neck, so we'll see if anybody separates from it. Socials, as always.
This is the bad week. This is the week where I just don't get any game right somehow. Just Nick luck.
I really hope that's not true because
Yeah,
like,
there's-
we all got some similar picks this week in terms of
No,
spreads,
you guys are
so
going through it with me.
I was gonna
Don't
say if
worry.
it's a bad week for you, it's a bad week for us.
Exactly.
Good.
Um,
We all suffer.
socials, as always, are _pod. That's it from myself, Nick, Brooklyn. We'll be seeing you guys next week.
Yep.